So if he's able to successfully deal with the flippers, he still has to deal with the tapes. Now, if I can remember correctly, there's about four, possibly five of them, and these tapes can be just as damaging or even more damaging than the testimony of the flippers. So now I think I remember actually watching several newscasts on this. I think I've seen something on CNN and maybe NBC or something like that. And they were talking about chain of custody, which basically sums up to me, right? I sum that up as to say that you have to prove, or the plaintiffs have to basically show that these tapes didn't pass through the hands of shady people, right? Right? Because if the tape has gone through hands, I'm not going to exaggerate here, but if the tape has been held by someone who is a known forger, and then that forger hand those tapes over to the government or someone within that chain, then you can't really trust anything that's in the videotape because the videotape was handled by a person who is a known forger. Maybe the person's been convicted of fraud or forgery or something of that nature. So you can't really trust the contents of the tape, right? So, chain of custody is one way to probably have the tapes. I think there's also some issue. There could be a separate argument made for authenticity. Maybe they it could be the same issue. I'm not 100% sure, but basically you have to find some way to authenticate the tape, right? Maybe the tapes did go through the hands of you know respectable people, but maybe they can make the argument that it's just simply not him in the tape, right? Maybe they can make the argument that it's someone else. I don't know. I haven't seen the tapes, right? I haven't really seen the tapes. Now, I'm not going to lie. I think somehow I did see that first tape that was involved in the 2008 trial. I think everybody and their mama basically saw bits and pieces of that first tape, right? And to me, it looked like R. Kelly. But then again, I'm not a forensic scientist. I can't be 100% sure that that was R. Kelly in the tape. It looked like him in the tape, but again, I'm not a forensic scientist. So, and I would imagine that if they can't get the tapes thrown out, then they could possibly bring in their own forensic scientists and basically have the conclusion drawn that that's not R. Kelly in the tape, right? And then I think there was other things that I heard lawyers say. I think that one of the things they could say is that, hey, that is actually me in the tape, but that woman that's in the tape is of age, and we were just role playing, right? So there's multiple possibilities for them to basically deal with that tape, but at the end of the day, they have to find some way to deal with those tapes. Otherwise, the tapes are going to be even more damaging than the actual flippers. So the tapes definitely have to be dealt with. Either they have to be thrown out, or you have to bring a forensic scientist to refute the evidence. Again, the tapes have to be dealt with, and he has to find a way to effectively deal with the tapes. Otherwise, he's done. Okay, so I have just kind of put some of the statutes on the spreadsheet. Some of the statutes that are involved with the Illinois federal indictment, and basically, from my point of view, I think they should. So first off, let's just recap the statutes involved. There is Title 18, United States Code 371, also commonly known as the conspiracy to commit offense or to defraud the United States. That's the conspiracy charge. There's the 2251A, sexual exploitation of children. There's the 2252A2, certain activities relating to material involving the sexual exploitations of minors. And then there is 2252AB1, which is essentially the same thing. No, I'm sorry, 2252AB1 is certain activities relating to material constituting or containing child pornography. And then there is 2422B, coercion and enticement, which is basically relating to sex, right? You're enticing people to have sex with you. And then there's 1519, destruction, alteration, or falsification of records in a federal investigation and bankrupt. Actually, you know what? I just noticed something about this, and I'm going to save it for the end. But anyway, I think the most important part, well, all of these charges are important, but I think his first attack should be on 371. And the reason I say this is because 371, in my opinion, is going to be kind of like the what's the word that I want to use? It's going to be the foundation. I'll use that word. It's, in my opinion, it's kind of the foundation of the federal indictment. And the reason I say that is because 371 is alleging that R. Kelly cheated in his first trial. If you can prove that he didn't cheat in the first trial, I don't know that he did. I don't know that he can prove that. I don't know. But if he can prove that he didn't cheat in the first trial, then most of the other charges would be considered double jeopardy, right? It would be considered double jeopardy because he's already been tried on this misconduct. And as you know, double jeopardy is trying a person for the same conduct, but you're basically bringing up different charges so that you can get different opportunities for trying to get a conviction. So that's basically double jeopardy. You're trying the guy multiple times for the same offense, right? So if he can beat the conspiracy charge, then I believe everything else, the house would collapse on itself, right? Because they're basically saying he lied, he cheated, he got hit the victim to say it wasn't her, so on and so forth. But if he can beat that, everything else, in my opinion, is null and void, right? So some of the ways he could possibly beat it, I noticed that in the indictment, a lot of it alleges the accomplice McDavid and individual A, individual B. And again, you see my other videos on why I believe the government named these people individual A and B. I think they did it essentially to keep them guessing. But check out the other videos that I made on this. But basically, essentially, the federal indictment in Illinois relies on the witness testimony, right? And basically, I believe, or at least I believe it relies on the witness testimony. From the way it read, it seemed like it relies on the witness testimony. So basically, from what I understand and what I believe, the witness is going to come forward and they're going to say that McDavid, individual A, individual B, propose, this to me. They propose giving me this amount of money on behalf of R. Kelly. Well, how do you know it was actually on the behalf of R. Kelly, right? You don't know that R. Kelly told these individuals to say that, right? Unless they're going to come out and say that R. Kelly directly told me, you know, give up these tapes and he'll give me cash. But from the way the indictment read, it looks like McDavid and individual A, individual B, and several other people were the go-betweens. So if he can sever himself from the go-betweens and he can prove that he didn't ask the go-betweens to, carry out these orders or to carry out these tasks, then he has a chance to beat the conspiracy charge. And if he beats the conspiracy charge, then the whole thing basically, falls like, a bunch of dominoes. So the other thing I noticed is that he could also say that he didn't have access to his bank account or he never went to the bank. I know in the CBS interview, and maybe there was a crafty attempt for him to set things up, but in the CBS interview, he basically said that he's never been to the bank. He's never managed his own bank accounts. He's had other people do that for him. So when you look at the federal indictment, they talk about checks that were sent out in his name. Well, he can easily deny that if he can prove that he's never handled his finances. He can easily deny that, right? And then, of course, what he would have to do, and I spoke about this early in the video, is that he has to challenge the witnesses. He has to find some way to basically keep the flippers from flipping, or refute their testimony, or keep them from testifying to begin with through some formal process. Maybe there's a way to exclude them. Maybe the plaintiffs didn't follow some type of rules, so therefore this witness can't be included, so on and so forth, right? So, but again, if he beats the conspiracy charge, I believe the entire thing will just fall like a bunch of dominoes or a house of cards. So the other ones, the sexual exploitation of children, certain activities relating to material involving the sexual exploitation of minors, and certain activities relating to material constituting or containing child pornography. Those three are basically going to be double jeopardy, right? Double jeopardy is going to be the claim that he can assert for those for those indictments, and it's going to double jeopardy is going to be more impressive, not impressive. It's going to be more effective if he can beat the conspiracy charge, right? Because he can just say, "Hey, Your Honor, we had a trial on this in the state court. I was acquitted. The government is just trying to, bring these charges back, which is prohibited by the Constitution, right?" And that could be the end of that. Now, the other one, coercion and enticement. I'm not really sure about this. I think it's against the Constitution. The reason I say it's against the Constitution is because basically everybody has a fundamental right to have sex. And if you meet someone and that person is in Minnesota and you're in California, and you say, "Hey, well, look, I like you. I want to get to know you. I'll buy you a plane ticket if you come out and spend the weekend with me." And on that weekend, you end up having sex. And I think it would be unconstitutional for them to lock you up because, you accidentally had sex with somebody that you like and you met online, and you decided to fly out for the weekend, so that you two can have a nice time. I think that's going to be unconstitutional. I think that's going to be grossly unconstitutional. But I don't know. You tell me. You tell me if it's unconstitutional for the government to indict you for essentially paying someone's airfare so that they can come out and have a nice time. And, during the midst of all that, you guys end up having sex. Tell me what you think. Let me know if you think it's unconstitutional. And the other one, destruction, alteration, or falsification of records in a federal investigation. So now, again, initially my thoughts were, he could possibly blame McDavid, and he can still say he has no access to his bank accounts up until, maybe 6 months ago, and he could challenge the witnesses. But hold on, you know what I noticed though? Now the title is falsification of records in federal investigations. So there could be a technicality, whereas you're trying to charge him for something in federal court that actually happened in state court. Or you can just come out and say, "Hey, there was no federal investigation in which, I'm alleged of destroying or altering or falsifying records," right? Unless there is, and maybe the indictment just wasn't clear. But from reading the indictment, I believe that this charge is related to the state child pornography case against R. Kelly, which was in Illinois. So that's pretty much it. That's my personal take on all this. This is my legal analysis. Perhaps the next time I'll do better. I know there's a New York federal indictment against R. Kelly. I have a lot of stuff going on, so I don't know if I'll be able to get to that. I also have a request to do the Jeffrey Epstein federal indictment. I'm going to try to get to that. But at any rate, definitely leave your comments below. I want to hear what you think about all of this, about my video, about the R. Kelly situation. And let me know if you actually liked the video. If you didn't like the video, it's okay for you to tell me. I need to know. I'm never going to get better at this if you don't tell me why you didn't like the video. But at any rate, thanks for watching.